morning, everyone, and welcome again to EMA's Health and Safety podcast series. My name is Kevin Chambers, and I'm really glad that you've taken the time to join us today. Our guest today is Alex Topp, and Alex, we're going to be talking about whether health and safety is an investment or whether it's a cost. Before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey in health and safety? How did you get into becoming a health and safety professional, and then also where you currently work?
Yeah, I'm currently working at Briscoe Group.
Yep.
Briscoe Group's made up of Briscoes and Rebel Sport, and I'm the health and safety manager there. We're part of the human resources team, so there's 2 people in health and safety currently, and we support the group of stores and our distribution centre and support office and call centre.
Yep.
And to get to this point in my career, I started in human resources roles and worked through the myriad of activity that occurs in that space. And near the more senior roles I had at that end of my career is where safety elements started to come into play. And I was lucky enough approximately 3 years ago to have the vacancy arrive at Briscoe's, and I put my hand up and said, oh, that looks like it'll be a good job.
Yeah.
And once started that position, immediately commenced a diploma to make sure I was hopefully making decent decisions.
Yep.
And we're 3 years down the track now, and it's going pretty well.
That's great. That's not an uncommon pathway, right, for people to come into health and safety from other fields?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can be quite an array
Yep.
of people coming from finance to ops, all sorts of things.
That's true. So do you still have an HR component in your role, or is it now 100% health and safety?
So being part of the HR team itself, I do have a lot to do with the business partners and the activities they get involved in.
Yep.
In our stores. So whether it's return to work plans or safety and design discussions, there may be things where HR is involved as well as safety.
Yep.
And safety can arrive in the conversation at unexpected moments as well. So it really depends on who's having that first chat before safety is part of it.
Yeah. A store that is selling products, whether it's homeware for Briscoe's or whether it's sports stuff for Rebel Sport.
Yep.
A lot of people, probably not our watchers, but a lot of people would be like, well, I mean, where's the health and safety risk there, right? It's a store.
Yeah, we do get that occasionally.
Yeah. So could you give us an example of a couple of risks that people wouldn't necessarily think of?
It's very common for the most obvious thing to be forgotten,
Yep.
and that is, how do the products get to the shop?
Of course.
So we have the storeroom out the back, and then we have racking in that storeroom, and that racking can be 3-4 levels high.
Yep.
We also have a distribution centre that currently has, I think it's approximately 6 levels, but the new one will be up to 11 to 12 metres high.
Wow, okay.
So it's pretty significant if something were to fall from that height, and the
Yep.
things you need to have in play to move the product around. And you think about all the touch points involved, whether it's machinery or people. So there definitely is an array of things that people don't think about immediately.
Yeah.
But to the general public and their perception of what is potentially a risk, you dive into that questioning a little bit. The typical response will be the thievery that may happen here and there,
Okay,
or violent and aggressive behaviour.
Yep.
Doesn't always have to be a thief that gets a situation in front of them they're not too happy with.
Yeah.
If I use my words politely.
Yeah, I think you've done that quite well, yeah. But definitely, so interactions with a customer that's unhappy, as in any retail store, can escalate.
Yep. And you'll also have individuals who aren't a thief and aren't entering the shop with any intention to be a customer. And they could be, under the influence or anything. And,
Yep.
and all retailers face that.
Yep.
We just try to make sure we deal with that in the most appropriate way possible.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that you take health and safety very seriously because, I've known you for a couple of years now. Briscoe's do as well. But the question then is, to most people, health and safety is seen as a cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, you're not making profit from doing health and safety actions. And we've come here today with the idea that actually, no, it should be seen as an investment. Can you delve a little bit deeper into that for us, please?
And you could frame the question the other way around as well.
Yep.
Because not all safety things slow things down or get in the way. They can be a productivity element too,
Mm-hmm.
where by doing things in a particular way, especially with the overt injury,
Yep.
if that doesn't happen, you don't have that freeze of activity and everything associated with that type of environment occurring.
Right.
So it can be flipped on its head depending on the person's sort of initial position when they view what needs to happen. And I'd look at that from a cultural lens.
Yep.
If you're at a business that comes straight in there with this as a cost, one of the things on your strategy is how can you flip that script to usually through examples and wins.
Yep.
But the more regularly you can achieve that, the more likely the more expensive or things that take a lot more time, you're going to have buy-in from everybody involved, all those stakeholders to get those things over the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you able, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
I do have examples. I knew it was coming.
You did, I'm sure you did. Can you give us an example then of a situation, you mentioned this before, where there can be productivity gains from doing things with a high regard to health and safety? Have you got an example of that?
Yeah, I'll give you a really obvious one that's probably not going to be overly enlightening. And that's where you have a team member that needs to get from position A to B.
Yep.
And you have forklifts right next to that are also doing the same activity, both directional. And so if that team member were to get hit by a forklift in that scenario, I was going to say the brakes get hit, but hopefully they were hit already before they made full contact. And something like that's likely to be a WorkSafe notifiable event, so everything has to stop.
Yep.
You've also got the full investigation, never mind the care involved for that team member that's been injured.
Yep.
So there's a series of things that need to happen, plus you have your sick leave, getting another person in to cover them, potential disciplinary process for whoever put a foot wrong in that scenario. That all takes time out of the day. Never mind going through whether the equipment was set up appropriately. Did you have warnings in place? Did they fail? Did they not? All this stuff you wouldn't want to have to go through. But in many of the situations we have that reflect the A to B scenario, we'll have bollards or pedestrian railings and to take the other angle, is it a forklift barrier rather than a pedestrian handrail? Are you keeping the people out, or are you keeping the forklift out, or the inverse, are you keeping the forklift in or the pedestrian in? And in those two scenarios, or sometimes it's even the product sitting on a pallet next to the pedestrian pathway, you're keeping those products from falling out and on people. And all of those various questions sort of answer whether the barrier is required or not, but the secondary piece is what type of barrier it is. And then that investment saves you having what's likely to be a bigger cost from those other scenarios. What we often see as a large challenge to that is the fundamental behavioral question of, well, just don't allow your forklift drivers to drive into those people. And so I'm doing the challenge for you here.
Yes.
Just tell them to drive there, not there.
Train your forklift drivers better.
Yeah, right. But people make mistakes. We all pass a driver's license test and similarly a forklift certification, but there are still crashes on the road despite what's arguably a pretty safe roading environment compared to some other countries. And similarly, our distribution centres run to pretty high standards. And then I like to think Briscoe Group is on par, if not better, in some areas. Yet there are the occasional situations where we look at something and go, is there an opportunity there or an investment that could be made, rather than purely seeing it as a cost.
And bollards are a great example. So or railings or whatever, there's an expense involved there. I was down at a factory on Monday and they had a great system of bollards and railings to basically keep the two actions apart, the pedestrians going through and also the fork hoists. So it costs money to set that stuff up, but you do it once, you do it right, and now you're able to separate people.
Absolutely. The classic is it's the cost of doing business. So there's often a magnifying glass over the safety element, but it is an element. There's more than one to make a business. Putting the doors on the front of the building, that was a cost. Making sure your floor is shiny, that's a cost. But can you do them in a way that is also safe? Make it so that it looks good, but you're not going to slip, or that the door's open when the customer goes to walk through and they expect them to open. Not a facetious example.
Absolutely.
We have had people sometimes, take the angle where the sensor isn't perfectly aligned.
Okay.
It wasn't foreseeable that they would decide to take that route.
Right, and they've walked into the door.
Yeah, or alternatively, they may walk into a glass panel that they thought was a door,
Okay.
which, can be seen in various ways, whether it's funny or not. But at the end of the day, they still could have got hurt.
Yeah.
So you can make better decisions that are operationally effective, get your net profit score, promoter score as high as possible, all through that safety investment. And those two things are measurable operational things that tangibly tie back to what is likely to be a more profitable business at the end of the day, because you're all there to make money.
Yes.
And most businesses,
without that, we wouldn't have jobs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so it's an investment, it's a cost. I can see what you're saying. You kind of need to flip it on its head. But we've just come out of a recession, right? It's been a tough couple of years. Not a lot of money around. And while for some elements of some of the things that we do to provide a safe working environment, it's a one-off cost. You pay it, it's done, it's there, it's all the rest. But there are ongoing costs with health and safety. So how do you counter the argument where people are like, look, we do take it seriously, but budget's tight at the moment. So, for example, we can't spend as much on training our staff as we have done in the last few years, or we can't spend as much on upgrading our PPE. What would your counter argument be to that?
Well, I know what the spectrum end position is.
Yep.
And some businesses find themselves operating there, and that spectrum end is your business viable?
Yep.
Because you should only be in whatever business it is if you can do it in a safe way.
Okay.
And then how do you work back from that to the whole reasonable and practical situations that do work and don't work, and what activities should happen or shouldn't happen, and what can those activities be done by? And a good example at Briscoe Group and a lot of other retailers is the never-ending manual handling injuries, and I've had a chat with you about this before.
Yes. And that was an example I was going to think of. You talked about getting the product from A to B, and yes, you've got machinery that can help, but ultimately someone needs to stack the shelves. And some of your products weigh.
Absolutely. And there's two things I'll talk about here. One is the way we've dealt with the manual handling injuries themselves directly, and the other one is what is a situation that isn't quite so obvious, that is wholly in itself under the operational banner, but really is a safety thing when I start talking about it. And are you more likely to injure yourself when you pick up a box 10 times or 2 times? And well, the answer is usually going to be 10 times. So how do you reduce the touch points down? And how do you get the right amount of stock arriving at a site? Because sometimes stock doesn't sell and has to go to the other shop that is fortunately selling that item. So how do you send it there in the first place and get your stock orders, get that all right? And so Briscoe Group's making an enormous investment with our distribution centre. We have an order send and retrieval system that we receive products off a truck or container. It goes to a decant station. So you have a touch point there. It goes away into the OSR machine, comes back out for a person at a picking station to place the perfect amount of items that shop should require into the specific box that will be placed on the specific pallet of boxes going to that site.
That specific store,
Whereas historically, you'll receive the pallet of air fryers or whatever arbitrary example. Whereas now you'll receive the amount that you should sell based on the history behind that. But all the safety piece there is the touch points. So that person's only had to touch the item to place it in the machine, to take it out. They don't have to touch it to put it on the truck because the machine does that. And when it gets to the shop, the people at the shop are only having to pick up the item to then place it on the shelves. And in some situations, we will store excess product in the racking. But even that should reduce. And so overall, the efficiency found in what is viewed wholly as a operational efficiency has a massive safety piece to it, because the manual handling is reducing, and that's not only our most significant injuries and severe ones, but also the most frequent ones as well. And sometimes that frequency is hurting people a little. But that does stack up, and you can also have the repeated action manual handling injury as well. So that piece is really awesome, and we know as a business it's going to have a massive impact on our workload with return to work plans and injury management and all the other components.
Which can then save money.
Roster productivity, the list goes on.
Most people, it's interesting, most certainly myself, I wouldn't have seen that as a health and safety action per se. As you say, it's a productivity efficiency. A lot of time and investment and research will have gone into getting that right. Most people wouldn't see that as a cost for health and safety.
Exactly. And one of the pieces of work that the team and myself did was specifically around manual handling injuries and how we can address them front on. And we look at the training we have currently, and people are scoring on average 98%, yet those injury stats are still coming through. So there's a massive gap there between the knowledge people have and the actions they're performing, and we need to figure out how to bridge it.
Have you seen them start to fall though?
Yes.
Again, not wanting
at
to put
the end
you
of
on
the
the
story.
spot,
So I mean, I can cut to the chase there, where we did some training. The training is effective. It was the first move manual handling training provided by Prevention, but the rollout strategy there was pretty cost prohibitive when you think about the vast array of shops we have and things like attrition and getting through everyone. But now we've implemented a training set that covers off all of that content. The people actually do the activity in the right way. And then reinforcement questions kick in through our e-learning. And all of this is housed through our virtual reality headsets.
Wow.
And, the series of modules, so it's not going to take any more time out of a team member's day than our existing e-learning training modules. The content's just as long, and we've got it. You fire it up, you get your code off the computer, type it in, and you're straight into it. It all just starts for you. And those kind of wins with how long it takes to get into it and do it are awesome. We're also getting through everyone. We can have the new starters complete it without having to fly a trainer in or train the trainer, and then you have consistency issues with the training content. All of that's ironed out with this, and is completely viable from a cost perspective in 2025, 2026 compared to these headsets came out in 2015, somewhere around there. So we all remember those prices.
We do, We're
not paying that, not even close.
Let's imagine I'm a health and safety manual handling trainer. You've just put me out of a job. Willingly so.
Well, it's important that we engage those types of individuals to build this content. There's intellectual property attached to that content as well. We can't just take it and run with it because it's not our information to have. So there are appropriate commercial arrangements in place for those scenarios before building all of this. We can't make things up either, because I'm not a manual handling expert, but I do know them, to your point. And so engage those people to get this stuff set up in the right way.
You'll have staff of all age groups, right? So you'll have some that are digital natives, some that are digital immigrants like myself. How did the older staff then, how did they respond to this idea of now doing training through virtual reality? That must have been a bit of a shock to them.
Some of them were uncomfortable with the idea at first. But that's why it's really important to map out what your strategy for implementation looks like. Part of that's a pilot and then a trial. How many phases are actually necessary to demonstrate that the full rollout should occur? So quite openly we have the frank conversation with some team members that are old, the word you used, older than the rest of the team, and they are in that management role. And we were lucky enough to find a Briscoe site that the entire management team were in that bracket. And so I was like, well, they're going to be the pilot, because if I can roll it out there
successfully
without the business processes finalized, without the dashboards to tell you if things are working the right way, all sorts of technical issues. Like, you name something that could go wrong, it probably needed some time put into it. But we still managed to successfully roll it out. And I just put that completely down to the team members themselves and how engaged and willing they were. They could see the tangible benefits at the end of it, never mind upskilling themselves on some new tech. And they probably know a lot more about how these headsets work than the people that are having rollout today. And that's because they were faced with the screens to work through to actually get the module to launch. Whereas now you just turn it on and it launches by itself.
Big project, lot of expense involved in setting that up. How do you get that past the financial accountants? How they're looking at it and going, this is $10,000 project, a $20,000 project, a $50,000 project. How do you get it past them?
So there's a few pieces to talk about to kind of build the whole picture, because there isn't just one piece you go, there's the thing that we need to deal with.
And again, just bringing it back to the, this is an investment, not a cost.
Yeah, and there's an emotional element to it as well, because we've had team members that have been significantly injured because they've lifted something in a way that they potentially shouldn't have, and it will be inconsistent with the desktop version of training that they've already passed to a satisfactory level. And despite that and reinforcement questions, etc., the injuries still happened. And so this person's on the couch for a year. Can't work for us. Unlikely to work for other people in the same capacity. There's questions around whether they could do other work, but that involves training. And despite that, there's still going to be a rehab journey that's going to be really significant. And we've had surgical interventions for people that have lifted something in a way that's caused an injury. Simply put, do you want that to happen to your team when you have the opportunity to do something about it, despite the cost? There's always going to be a tipping point. If you said to someone, it's going to cost you $10 million to fix this for a company that makes $10 million a year, it's going to be a really hard call. Because ultimately, as we said before, you're there to make money. So are there other ways we can go about this?
But there's the cost of not doing it. There's the cost of doing it, but now you've mentioned, that if we don't do it and these injuries happen, they have a cost associated with them as well. Exactly. And are you in a place of potentially arrogance in regards to it? What is your culture when you're looking at what I just described, or is it potentially negligence, which is worse? And when you see the injury rates come through, well, you've moved from that position to the other position. And where an incident becomes reportable, that's not going to look very good for you and your company. So there's that massive piece where you need the stakeholders, the directors, whoever's involved, whoever's directly liable, most importantly, they need to understand that piece before you get into the investment and cost, so that they know what not only could potentially happen to their people, but is happening. If you've been in business long enough, you'll have examples. You can quite easily download the ACC claim list for your company if you don't have a health and safety management system and just read through the descriptions, or drop them into a suitably confidential and secure AI system. It'll show you the worst ones. And again, regarding costs, we're not just talking about financial costs. There's reputational cost. As you say, if there is a serious event that becomes notifiable, that now means that your reputation is taking a hit. Not a great way of putting it, but
flipping that script by going, is it the cost to the business, or is it a cost to your team? And that emotional piece where that person's, they're there to do a job. They expect to go home safely, be paid appropriately for what they've done, but not go home with an injury. Sometimes completely debilitating, and then that cost can be completely ignored in this conversation. It's the costs your team have had to go through, or potentially yourself if you're directly stuck in the weeds with your business. So that piece is, do you want to spend that cost, or would you rather invest so that cost never happens? I never thought of it that way.
That's interesting. So this is an investment to prevent a potential other cost down the line.
Yeah, it's a non-financial one to the business directly. You probably get stung by ACC if you hurt someone at work. There's the inevitable piece there. But just want to highlight that piece because it's often a meaty piece of any business case as to why you should do something, but a really important one in the economic scenario you just highlighted, because that piece you can't lose that piece when you're testing whether your business should be in business,
right?
And then there's the other part, the part that gets all the spotlights, the dollar signs attached to whatever you're trying to achieve.
I like what you said before. If you can't afford to do it safely, maybe you can't afford to be in business. It's a very interesting way of looking at it. And some organisations take it that seriously. They're like, well, we have to always take safety as the highest priority. And some organisations don't. You mentioned culture earlier. So just to go back to you talking about visitors to the site that aren't necessarily visiting because they want to purchase something. How I don't want to put you on the spot and go, is that getting worse or is it getting better? More, what sort of an approach has Briscoe's had regarding that, and has that approach changed over the last few years?
Well, I guess you're quite right when it comes to the numbers. Shoplifting isn't new.
No,
it's been around forever.
We all did it when we were kids, right?
Speak for yourself.
No. Seriously, not me.
Yeah. But right, CCTV, it wasn't a thing. Everyone thought it was an invasion of privacy, fanfare. Now it's completely normalized. I can see a similar thing happening with facial recognition technology and driver license plate recognition technology. It's introduced already into the country. A lot of retailers are looking at it. 15, 20 years time, it'll be normalized. I wouldn't be surprised if your local dairy is using it. And there'll be something else that we haven't thought of that will come into play. So all of that stuff plays into that as well when you think about what's changing, because what used to be considered normal or safe and the cost of doing business, etc., evolves as well. The social norms evolve around that, and sometimes those social norms come with cost, and sometimes they're arbitrary. Like it's not unlikely that FRT, facial recognition technology, will just be inbuilt into the camera you purchased off the shelf in 50 years, and it'll all be aligned with privacy expectations. That's how normalized it could become at your own home. But at the moment, you specialist equipment, the list goes on to make this stuff effective. But when it moves to that place, it won't be seen as this additional lump cost associated with an activity that's going to put in place the ability for your team to respond appropriately to whatever you're presented with.
And remain safe.
Yeah, so that's sort of what sort of happens everywhere. Like, it used to be considered safe to just jump up on the roof, mate, change the tiles, get down, you'll be fine. But now you've got to put the scaffold up and the harness, and that was a big deal when it was introduced. Now it's completely normal. You're a contractor, you show up and that's not there. I don't want to do that activity. So you can see that happening through all things, and it's just the way things are done now. And it would be, hopefully that continues to improve. Standards will evolve, and hopefully people are conducting their business consistently with them.
So just to wind up then, as things are becoming normalised, as safety is becoming more normalised, it's not being seen as a cost. It's an investment toward
This
the
is the
business
way
being
we do it,
operated. Yeah,
rather
this
than
is
the
how we do
safe
it.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Because they should be inherent, right?
Yeah.
It should be the same thing. And once you're at that place, you go, all right, what are the opportunities now to do another risk assessment on this to identify the new things that are at play. So, cool, we've got this FRT equipment, etc. But now we've got people walking in the shop and they see this unique camera, and they may respond in a way that is, puts your other customers at risk. So all of that has to be dealt with as well. We need to make sure things are in place. Trainings occurred for the team that are receiving that equipment in the trial, and this stuff isn't just kick it down the curb. It'll sort itself out over time. It's like, no, we need to do it properly from the start, because if something happens that we don't want to have happen, we need to make sure there are protocols, etc.
So before the Act in 1992, I'm reasonably confident that I could say that safety was definitely seen as a cost. We're now 10 years into the period after the 2005 Act, 2015 Act, sorry, thank you. Are we seeing a shift? Are we seeing a shift? Are you feeling it? I don't mean specifically Briscoe's, but just within the culture of the country. Are we seeing a shift where people are now actually going, well, no, safety is an investment, and if we do it right, then there are savings that can be gained down the line. Are we there, or do we still have a little way to go?
Depends where you work as well.
Well, of course it does. Yeah,
because people bring their own ideas and approach to this stuff.
Yeah.
But I can definitely say at Briscoe Group, it's really nice when I walk into conversations and that whole emotive conversation I mentioned earlier is already completely understood by all of the senior leaders. Yep. So we're not wasting time with any of that sort of stuff. It makes up a piece of all toolbox conversations, every operational email that comes from top brass. So what would that have been happening 30 years ago? Well, I wasn't working, but it's probably unlikely. So it definitely is changing, but like I said, it's what is going to be normalized in 10 years, and then when we get there, what are we looking at normalizing again? So there's always going to be improvement, and people entering the operational and safety workforce today might go, oh wow, we can go a long way from this, and you kind of push your head back and you should have seen where we were. So that's kind of how I'd position it.
Heading in the right direction. Still a ways to go. Alex, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your time and your expertise with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Want to come back again sometime?
May as well. I have a habit of not stopping talking. So.
That's great. Look, it's been really, really enjoyable, the conversation. And to those of you that are watching, I hope that you got something out of that. I certainly did. Safety is an investment. It's an investment, not a cost. And we really appreciate your time today, and we hope that you'll come back and join us another time. In the meantime, that's goodbye from me, Kevin Chambers, and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.